Where my girls at? Where my girls at? Independent, free spirit.
Here we are. Yes. I'm back. We're back. I'm so excited, you guys. We got issues, man. We're going to talk about it today. We got issues, and brought to you by the Force of Friendship. Oh my goodness. One girlfriend in, the other girlfriend out. It's Gloria Mayfield Banks. I'm here with you. Sabrina's here with you. Caterina's here with you. But Crisette and I exchanged places. I left Mexico. She landed in Mexico. I think she landed in Mexico the day before I left Mexico. So we just exchanged places. Now she's in the heat, and I'm sitting here in my house with my Uggs on. For real. Yesterday, I woke up. It was 75 degrees when I woke up. A little bit more like what Caterina lives. 75 degrees when I woke up. When I landed here, it was like 34 degrees. I was excited. It wasn't 23 degrees because it had been 23 degrees the time before that. So I'm so excited. I've been watching Sabrina's snow. You still got snow today, Sabrina? Okie dokie. She got
absolutely.
Well, I'm telling you guys, seriously, I'm going to talk about it, but let's bring in the girlfriends and see what's going on around the world. But there's a lot going on. There's a lot of news going on. It's been amazing week. We're going to talk all things Black history. So, like Michael said, when I got on the radio, he said, blackity, black. We're going to talk about blackity, black. We're going to talk about Black history. We're going to talk about the history of Black history. So call us in with your perspective on what's going on right now, because you might see things that we haven't seen. And if you call us in at 313-778-7600, we would love it. You're listening to 910 AM, the Superstation out of Detroit, Michigan, WFDF, and we're international. Oh my God, our callers from around the world. We love it when you call us. We love it when you watch us on YouTube. We love it when you're here on Facebook. We love it when you're on the iHeartRadio. We love it when you go to our website, forceoffriendship.com, and you can listen to us there. So we are here to talk, and we're here to talk to you. So let's go on over to Sabrina with another hat. Sabrina Goodwin Monday. What's happening, Sabrina Goodwin Monday, in the snow in Ohio?
Everything. That's right. Another hat. All my girlfriends always send me wonderful hat resources. I'm the hat girl. On a bad hair day, I'll throw on a hat and it's all good. Gloria, we're so glad to have you back. Yay, Gloria's back. I will tell you. They were like, okay, it's been 4 or 5 days. When is Gloria coming back? Is Gloria?
The rumors start.
And then it's rumors. They try to hit me on the down low. Is Gloria still part of the Force of Friendship? Okay.
Are you serious? Dang, man.
You got to make an announcement. We need you to post, okay? Excuse absence.
For real. Oh my God.
So
but yeah, out there.
I tell them we are the core four. We are here to stay, okay? The core four, we are here. So we've lost some girlfriends along the way. We have for those who followed us, but we are here, you guys.
They are still our girlfriends. We haven't lost those girlfriends, okay? They are still our girlfriends.
They just ain't got issues like we got issues. They got different kind of issues. You know how it goes. You don't lose girlfriends. You just collect girlfriends. So we're glad to have this tribe here with us. We're glad that you guys check in with us every day, 6 to 7 p.m. We're glad that you lean in. We're glad that you bring your messiness with you. We're glad you bring your craziness with you. We're glad that you bring your insight with us. We're glad that you bring the conversation. And so don't forget to call in for real. Caterina, what's happening out there on the West Coast? What's the temperature out there?
Oh, my goodness.
Just make us feel good.
It is warm. I have to tell you, I don't have to have my Uggs on. And, it's amazing. You talk about having issues. First of all, I wish you guys could just see the behind the scenes, okay? Because the behind the scenes right now, my whole family is over here like, you need to move, okay? They are over here telling me you need to move. I'm like, I'm on the air right now. Can y'all leave me alone? I mean, seriously, can you imagine every day, y'all, Monday through Friday, we are on the air. It coming to you from our homes while the dogs are around, the family's around, the gardeners around, the pool man's around, everybody's around us. But Gloria, oh my gosh, we were living vicariously through you, the warm weather. You know, I was the first one to go hang out on the beach, then Gloria, then Chris. Sabrina's coming up, but I'm telling you, I'm almost ready to go back. That thing is so relaxing.
That's
The
right,
ability
Katrina.
to,
You started this whole vacation thing. You started this
oh
whole
man,
vacation missing on the thing. You're right.
yes,
You're right.
yes. We could take this show on the road. And now, you know, that's the one thing about COVID. We've been doing the at-home work forever, but I think everybody has gotten a taste of, you know what, just grab your phone, grab your computer and some Wi-Fi and let me work from the beach. So thank you, Gloria, for continuing the party. And we talked yesterday about where Sabrina's going. We're going to send her to a beach somewhere, okay? Somewhere.
Oh. Well, let's have a that conversation for a second. Where'd y'all decide that Sabrina was going to go? Not that Sabrina had anything to say about it, but where are you going, Sabrina? Where you going? Where you feeling? What you feeling?
Sure yet. We're not sure yet. We're going somewhere, but we're not sure yet. But with all y'all getting up out of here, y'all don't care about COVID, Novid, Movid, or Bovid, okay?
I'm telling you though, but it was good to see the level of energy they put into the protection in Mexico, because Mexico wasn't having it, and that at that resort that I was at, they weren't having it, and they weren't having it at the event that I went to. They weren't. I mean, it was no conversation. Everybody was tight. So it's really good. Test to get in there. Test during the week. Test to stay in there. Test to get out of there. You better not catch nothing. I don't know what would have happened if you caught something for sure. It was interesting. It was interesting. However, I do get excited. It gave me a good excitement about Hawaii. That's coming up. So, but you can't wait to Hawaii, girl. You got to get away before that. You got to get away when it's snowy there.
Sure. I know. Yeah. Yesterday I was thinking I'd wait, but today I'm thinking no. Tell us about your trip, Gloria. What did you do? How was it? Where exactly were you? Tell us about it.
Oh my gosh, you guys. Okay, girlfriends, let me tell you something. One of the things I did say while I was over there is if you want to increase your emotional management, if you want to have an increased emotional management, take a break. Go on vacation. You know, we all need to get a getaway some way. And I told some friends of mine, I said, you don't have to go anywhere. I mean, you don't have to go to the sun. You can get in your car and drive a little bit. But I was in Cancun, Mexico. Been to Cancun several times. Never have been to this particular resort. This resort in Mexico is Spanish owned, a big Spanish company. When I tell you this resort was huge. I mean, it was, I've never seen a resort so big. It was so big. It had various different hotels. The place that we were at, the part we were at was adults only. So there was no children under 18 there. But then just walking distance down the beach, a lot of families, a lot of kids, a lot of excellence. It was totally fabulous. It was all inclusive. We had a breakfast with one guy whose parents were at the start of Club Med. Y'all remember Club Med was the first resort, all-inclusive resort. It's about 60 years old. And he talked about how it's nothing like that at all. Of course, it's nothing like that at all. But he was a tennis pro at the time that his parents were involved at the beginning. So it was very exciting. I went for a meditation retreat. So interesting. You guys, I learned so much. Okay, first I want to tell you, imagine 35 to 40 hours of meditation. OMG. I mean, like that's some OMG, right? That is some major
Imagine
OMG.
You 35 hours of meditation. Okay.
I mean, y'all, he would say, close your eyes, here's me.
Gloria, in blocks of what, like 2 hours at a time, 3 hours at a time? What? How much at a time?
It was mostly blocks of an hour and a half to 2 hours at a time, but one block we went for 4.5 hours. 4.5 hours.
I can't imagine.
We got okay, so we got up at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Can
you can during the training, not while you're meditating. He does training in between. So you had to understand why you were meditating, how to do meditation, the different kinds of meditation that you can do, the music that he's playing. Some people like to do it in silence. Some people were novice, like because Ken is a major meditator. Is that the right word? He meditates a lot. Like he's been meditating for years. Mm-hmm. They were there. Those people that had been there meditating for a long time, people that were novice, that were like, he was funny. He was like, okay, for those of you, okay, so imagine coming out of 4 hours of meditation. And he said, those of you who want to do headspace and calm and do like your 10-minute meditation, thinking you're going to change the world. He said, have at it. He was funny. Oh, he was so funny. It was funny. This guy named Dr. Joe Dispenza. And he ran the meditation, doing it for years, just huge following on meditation. So very spirit filled. It was really excellent. It was very excellent. And then just the location. So the location was beautiful. Sometimes we forget, especially if you live on the East Coast where it's cold, you forget what it's like to wake up to see the sun so beautiful, to see the palm trees blowing, to see the water, the pools, the elegance, the food for days. Let me tell you something. If I don't eat for 10 more days, I'm okay. I'm okay if I don't eat again because I've been eating morning and night. So you meditate, then you eat. You meditate, then you eat. When I tell you, we didn't even work out at all. Can you imagine Ken Banks not working out? That's how down under we were. Like we were down under. Of course, he's working out now and will be working out for the rest of his life. But it was amazing. It was amazing. So the before the show conversation, y'all. One day y'all got to join us for the before the show and the after the show. Sabrina was like, "Well, how you changed?" She said, "You changed." I said, "Yes, I am." She said, "How you changed?" I said, "I'll tell you on the show." So here's the thing: meditation teaches you more about how to be in the present. I have to give Ken $1 every time I complain. He has to give me $1 every time he complains. It just makes you change the way you are. And really the biggest thing about it is how to increase your love and how to increase your gratitude. If you can increase your love and increase your gratitude and learn how to quiet your mind. My mind, different people are different. My mind is very hard to calm down. It's always been loud and active. Y'all, seriously, y'all ever heard of Purdue Chicken? Purdue, the chicken people. Okay, so I'm in the middle of them. Yeah. Okay, it's like name a chicken company, Caterina, if y'all not familiar with Purdue Chicken, right? Okay, so I'm in the middle of my meditation. Okay. And I start thinking about Purdue Chicken. I'm like, what are you doing in my head? Purdue Chicken? I don't even eat Purdue Chicken. But it's your thoughts just keep coming to you all kind of ways. It's amazing what you think about when you try not to think. Think about it. Imagine what you think about when you try not to think. So it was very interesting. And there's a lot of different ways to meditate that they taught us about, but it was mind blowing. And if you think about, this is the thing I want to tell people, like when he taught us that, which I've known before, but when you're in the present, you have no problems because in the present moment, you have no problem. Every problem you have is either something that you dealt with in the past or something that you dealt with that you're thinking about in the future. And when you're very active and type A personality, we think about the future a lot. And there's problems in the future, but none in the past. So it's going to be interesting. We're going to come back after this break and talk a little bit about Black history. We're going to stop talking about meditation for a minute. It might come up. I don't know. It might come up. But you're listening to 9:10 a.m. the Superstation. We got issues. It's Winning Wednesday. And we're going to talk a little bit about Black history and what's happening in the news today as we make history. And we'll talk to you in just a few minutes. Hang with us. Hang with us. We got issues. Yeah, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. We got issues. We got issues. We are so glad you're tapping into us at 9:10 a.m. The Superstation. We got issues brought to you by the Force of Friendship. Now, there's 4 of us. Now there's 3 of us. Sometimes there's 2 of us. But Caterina's on the radio with us and she's popping in and out. You guys, so seriously, let's talk about a little bit. Okay, so when you're gone 10 days, you don't get all the news, especially if you've been meditating for 85,000 hours a day. So you don't see all the news. But is there any particular news we need to talk about, Sabrina or Caterina, that's hot right now, that's just heavy, that we need to talk about before we go into some other things?
There's so much news, Gloria. I think we move right into our Black History news. I mean, it's ongoing, heavy, 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 lots going on. I think that's the good part of vacation, is that you remove yourself from the daily news cycle, because it can be so heavy and so burdensome.
Yeah.
And it just kind of is an escape from reality. So It's been a lot going on, but I'm excited about Black history and all that we're going to talk about today. So I'm good with moving on. Caterina, you got something that you just got to talk about? No, she ain't got nothing.
We're good. Let's talk about Black history, because literally everything that's going on is affecting us. Okay. Everything that's going on is affecting us.
You know what? When I was looking up this thing about Black history, they said a lot of the Black history is being made right here, right now, today. There's so much Black history that's going on right now, both good and bad. There's a lot of it. But let's talk a little bit about where this comes from. And let me just tell all our listeners, you are all involved in the Black History Month. You're all involved in what we can all do. Let's just say that this was started out as Negro History Week. And it was the brainchild of Carter G. Woodson. And you guys, Carter G. Woodson is like a relative of mine, like my mother's sister's husband. Last name is Woodson. So Carter G. Woodson is a relative of my cousin Adele. You guys know Adele. She calls into the show all the time. And yes.
Oh, so my goodness, Gloria, my favorite book. My favorite book of all time, Miseducation of the Negro by Carter G. Woodson. I didn't know that was relative. Yes, it's a must read. Miseducation of the Negro. Yes, Carter G. Woodson.
Okay. Very interesting. Very interesting. Well, this is the brainchild of Carter G. Woodson and other very prominent African Americans. And ever since 1976, every president has officially designated the month February as Black History Month. However, it started way back in 1915. It was half a century after the 13th Amendment abolished slavery in the United States. However, it really took hold in 1926. So there's an association called the Association for the Study of African American Life and History. And they wanted it to coincide with the second week of February, when it was just a week at the time, because that was the same time that Abraham Lincoln and Frederick Douglass's birthdays are celebrated, the second week in February. Very interesting. So they chose that would be the time. It was an event that inspired schools and communities to celebrate some of the things that were happening. So they did performances and lectures. And it was so interesting that NAACP was founded February 12th, 1909. And that's the centennial anniversary of Abraham Lincoln. So it's very interesting what Abraham Lincoln had to do with Black History Month, what it had to do with Negro Week, had to do with NAACP. And we all know that we're glad that he freed the slaves, but we all know too, it was under a lot of duress. So there's a lot of information that comes with that. By the late 1960s, thanks in part to the civil rights movement and growing awareness of Black identity, Negro History Week evolved into Black History Month. And most of it was from the power of the colleges. The colleges on the college campuses really were the ones who started the energy to say, let's take it from a week to make it a month. Then President Gerald Ford officially recognized it as a month in 1976. He said, we need to seize the opportunity to honor the too often neglected accomplishments of Black Americans in every area of endeavor throughout our history. Okay, so here's a new one. Did you know that every year there's a theme to Black History Month? Like, I didn't know there was a theme. Yeah, never knew there was a theme. But every year there's a theme. This year it's Black health and wellness. Interesting. So it's about the legacy of not only Black scholars, but medical practitioners in the Western medicine. So they're doing this whole thing that we didn't know anything about. And what is this, the 9th of the month that we didn't know anything about? But this is how you spread the news, by listening to We Got Issues. This is the theme of Black history, which is scholars about health and wellness. And the reason they took it on, you guys, is because of the pandemic highlighted how we have been missed as a people in our healthcare, and the pandemic highlighted it. So there's some things that they wanted to highlight with making that the theme, which I thought was quite interesting. They said that it was, yeah.
The theme, who,
yes.
who does
The
that?
theme comes, that organization that started it, which is the study of African American life and history, that started way back in 1926, is still in existence. And they decide who's the theme every year. And I don't know how you I don't know how you become a part of that, but it was a very big deal, that every year they pick a theme that has to do with something. That's good. They said last year marked the 112th birthday of NAACP. So these notes go back and forth between NAACP, but what's powerful is how much the NAACP highlights Black History Month. Sometimes it's important to be informed with how one organization supports another organization, because if you're not careful, we think how much this organization operates without that organization. So that was a pretty big deal. Then, did you guys know that Martin Luther King's assassination happened on Maya Angelou's birthday? I know. So on April 4th, 1968, civil rights activist Martin Luther King was assassinated, and it was on Maya Angelou's birthday. And that's when she stopped celebrating her birthday. She never celebrated it again after that date. And every year she would send Coretta Scott King flowers because of that. I mean, did you know that Betty Boop, the cartoon Betty Boop,
right,
was from a Black jazz singer? A Black jazz singer who used to sing, and you heard that she used her boobs to get attention, I guess. I wasn't singing wasn't enough or whatever, but she used her boobs as a Black jazz singer. And somebody had something drawn about her, Esther Jones. I mean, just all these kind of statistics that came up with Black history. So we're going to go into some of the nominations for things that happened during Black History Month. But one of the things I wanted to highlight is I want to open up to you guys. I've seen a lot of companies now embracing the Black history, the social media Black history. And I want to talk a little bit about that. What have you guys seen happen in this month of Black history that has maybe taken some of your attention? Have you guys seen anything different? Either of you?
To me, there's not enough celebration. There's been lots of years that I've seen a lot more. It's everywhere. Like, even if you forgot it was February, you would know. But I haven't seen I don't think I've seen anything. And it's actually kind of disappointing to me.
That's interesting because
Go ahead, Gloria. Go ahead.
I've seen some of the companies celebrate it, but some of them don't necessarily do it tactfully. It's almost like they're celebrating it because they have to, or they're celebrating it because they want to do it for business reasons. And then some of them do it really well. Like, they really go into how they celebrate. So it's very interesting. It's going to be interesting to talk to some of the diversity officers that we're going to be seeing in the next couple of months about what they think about it. But I was really tuned in to watching that. What were you going to say, Sabrina?
Yeah, it was interesting when you said, what have you seen? That was my thought at first, was I haven't seen enough. I just haven't seen enough. Not that I don't think that we have to wait until February to celebrate Black history. It is a designated month where we do. But I just think we all need to do a better job at celebrating, commemorating the legacy leaders who have gone before us year round. And we could even do a better job with our show at highlighting the many contributions that African Americans have, the contributions that they've, so many have made to our society. So I haven't seen enough. We got to do better. Grateful for the time that we have and grateful to celebrate today. So many that have gone before us to give us this platform, even celebrating 9:10 a.m. the Superstation, the radio station, the oldest Black radio station in the city of Detroit. If we did not have this outlet for all of these years, I think the station is almost 100 years old, that so many in the community would not have stories told about our people, by the people, for the people. So it's just always so much work to do.
Always so much work. One of the things that you bring to light when you said that you know, a station like this, you know, the Black History Month brings to light the lack of education of our Black history to begin with, that there's so much that we have to talk about. And if we don't talk about it, there's so much that's not found out. It's not educated. The kids don't know about it. And I'm going to be talking about some of the facts that we may not have heard about in the history books. You know, some things you hear a lot about, some things you hear nothing about. Some of the things that we've talked about in this show, no one had ever heard of until we talked about it. One of them is about Tulsa. And so that's one of the things that they talk about as one of the pieces that's there. So you know what, after this break, we're going to come back and we're going to talk about some things that have happened and have been highlighted because of Black History Month. So we invite you to call in to 313-778-7600. We're going to talk as we got issues. The girlfriend's going to bring up some Black history issues. And we want to hear from you in terms of what you know, what you learned, and all that kind of stuff that happened to you. We'll see you back in just a second. Yes, welcome back, welcome back, welcome back to We Got Issues. 9:10 a.m. the Superstation. We're so excited to be here at WFDF out of Detroit. We're so excited to be with you talking about Black history in February. Okay, so first thing I want to go into, I don't know about your mothers. Everybody's got their mother stories. My mother, when I talk about Black history, because she was an educator, she took us to the African American Museum in Detroit, Michigan. I think every half an hour on the hour, for real. Like we were there all the time. Seriously. And whenever we went to a city, we always got on a bus tour. You know how when you're young, you got to do what your mother loves. So she loves to do bus tours. So we got on every single bus tour to go see something was going on. And I will tell you, I'm going to talk about some of the facts from some of the things that have happened. But I know a lot of them, not because it was in the history books. And I grew up in Detroit, a predominantly Black city. I grew up in Detroit. But I do want to say the African American Museum in Detroit was always one of the most famous African American history museum until the new one came up in DC. So it's been a long time. Anybody else mother profound in that part? What'd your mother do to make sure you knew Black history? Just make it up to fill in the words.
This was the problem. Y'all know my story. You know my story.
What?
Growing up, I was like, I mean, it was so pitiful. And part of what I was going to ask you earlier, Gloria, is when you asked us how are we feeling about the Black History Celebration, I wonder if the whole talk around the critical race education and the miseducation that's going on around that has turned even talking about Black history into a political thing. I mean, who knows how that has impacted it? But honestly, growing up in an all-white neighborhood, I don't even know that I ever knew there was a Black History Month. As embarrassing as that is, my mom is over here saying, yeah, we knew, but it was not a part of my growing up. So it's embarrassing, but I don't remember us talking about that.
Okay, so Caterina, I have a question for
I got
you.
to college.
When did you turn it up? Because you clearly turned it up. You personally clearly turned it up. So when did you turn it up?
In college. I woke up in college, pledging. That was a major reason for me, my desire to pledge, and going to Howard. I spent 2 summers at Howard, and that was like, as an AKA leadership fellow, and that was like, I feel like I became Black in 2 summers at Howard. I mean, and that's so different from my girlfriend's experience, but that was my experience. And
I didn't know you went to Howard for 2 summers. What did you do while you were there?
As an AK leadership fellow, worked. That was where I got my experience working at, and I took a couple classes, lived in the dorms by the McDonald's, right by Howard and Woodner dorms. I mean, and a whole lot of partying, okay? 2 summers at Howard. You know what I did in the summer at Howard? We would really down biker pants at the parties, that was some of the
history up in there.
Of my life. So
that's some history. I did not know.
It was totally different.
Mm-hmm. I did not know you went to Howard for 2 summers. I had no clue whatsoever. Sabrina, you came from a family that you lived in the history because you lived in the newspaper.
Yeah.
So what was it like for y'all?
Sure. Yeah, grew up steep deep with history, Black history. Our family newspaper, the Oklahoma Eagle, so very proud that paper still is published today, almost 100 years old. We really are Black history. We live it. We are it. In Tulsa, Oklahoma, you guys have heard me say it so many times. My grandfather was the youngest entrepreneur on Black Wall Street. And so he wanted the newspaper, just like the radio station that we broadcast on every day, he wanted the newspaper to tell the community story. He said, if we don't have a tool to tell our own story, who's going to tell the story? And so it was our job, our family's job, every week, every day of the week, to chase the community news, to tell the stories of our people, the greatness. We had so many great educators, so many great business owners. We know that the Black Wall Street, we didn't have to go out of our community for anything. There was a movie theater, there was a skating rink, there was the bank, there was a newspaper, there were eateries and restaurants, there were retail stores. everything within a 10-block radius, all Black owned. You know what I'm saying? And so talking about Black history, that's who we were. That's where we lived. That dollar stayed in that community over and over again. And so now it's pretty sad because for years when urban renewal, whatever, you know, urban, but it's not really renewal. It was just,
that's it.
Yeah, but it was tear up the community. We didn't have a grocery store in North Tulsa for years until last year. It was clearly a food desert on the north side of Tulsa, not one quality grocery store. And so it's just something that we've taken so many steps forward, but we've taken so many steps backward. And so we just continue. We don't want to, we talk about this all the time, that we got issues, but we want to be solution oriented. We want to make a difference. I'm grateful that I grew up in a family that my grandfather, my grandmother, my mother and dad, they always instilled that we have a lot to offer, that we have a lot to contribute to society, that we don't bow down, we don't shrink, that we stand up for what's right, and we are difference makers. So I'm grateful that I did grow up in that climate and understood well the contributions that African Americans have made to our society and continue to make, despite all odds. Oh my goodness, there was just a story. I could go on now about Black history. I just heard about a woman in Oklahoma. She was denied getting in law school in Oklahoma. And so she went outside of the state, came back to the state and sued the school that did not let her in. And the school that she was admitted to, I think this was in 1946 or something like that. They finally let her in the school, and they put her in a classroom, in a chair that said for Blacks only, and put a rope around the chair. Okay, this is what we had to go through, you guys, to get education back then.
Put a rope around the chair.
A rope around the chair. Roped her away from everybody else, and said for Blacks only. Let her in the classroom, but that's what she had to do. But she, despite, she went ahead and got that degree, came back and sued them. And this is like in 1946. I can't recall her name, but you're talking about some Black history, talking about us having to go above and beyond just to get what's due to us. The struggle,
and you know what?
Real,
it's important
to march.
It's important to tell those stories, because if you get weak when you hear stories like that, you know, like you said, in spite of, because sometimes as you look at the young people now and you look at what they're going up against now, today, yesterday, the day before, last week, you know, they have to, that's why if it's not in the school system, we have to talk about it loudly, because if you don't talk about it loudly and if you don't talk about it deeply, you miss it. That's why I love Ava DuVernay, because her stories are so steeped and she refuses not to tell the stories. But it's those little stories that are huge that you just told that miss us if we don't have our own newspapers. We miss it if we don't have our own teachers. We miss it if we don't have our own principals. We miss it if we don't have our people telling the stories. You know, one of the things that said, let me talk a little bit about this, the first state to abolish slavery. You would have thought it would have been Illinois, which was the state that Abraham Lincoln was from. But the first state to abolish slavery was Vermont in 1777. It was Vermont. Who would have ever thought Vermont? They probably only had 3 Blacks to begin with, but it was Vermont. That was the first one. The Grammy-nominated Quincy Jones has scored history with a total of 79 nominations, 27 awards. He is the most nominated person and the most with awards from the Grammys. That's another big one. Another big thing was interracial marriage was banned in the U.S. until 1967, you guys. Interracial marriage was banned in the United States, and it first became law in the state of Maryland. It's so impossible to believe that that's what it was, but that's what it was. Then it says, before Rosa Parks refused to give up her seat. I don't know if you guys heard this. I think CBS Morning News did a thing about this about 2 weeks ago. Claudette Colvin was the first one to not give up her seat. You know, Sabrina, talk about the woman with the rope around her chair. This woman, and she wouldn't give up her seat, was 15 years old. 15 years old. They brought the police on, they brought everybody on, and she would not move from that seat. And she was written up, put in jail, and just like 2 months ago, her record was cleared by another Black judge in Alabama who cleared her record. And the thing that was so interesting about it, she had never met him, he had never met her, but her family stayed with it all these years, and he cleared her record. And he leaned down on one knee in front of her and said, "It is because of you that I was able to become a judge."
Yeah.
And he wanted to make sure her record was cleared. I mean, it was just such a big deal. Okay, so here's another one. This is a big one. A Black woman invented the sanitary belt. A Black woman invented that. Her name was Mary Patrice Davison Keener. She was an inventor at a very young age. She invented the product, but because she was Black, no manufacturer would come up with it until 30 years after its creation. It was invented in 1956, where it could be manufactured. Can you believe that? As a young child, the sanitary belt. That's something that would change the world for so many women. They refused to let that come to manufacturing because it was invented by somebody Black. Oh my goodness. So big.
Gloria.
Yeah, right before we go to the, yeah.
I didn't know this, but I just read that it was a slave that brought vaccinations to America.
Vaccinations? Really? I did not know that. A slave brought vaccinations to America.
Mm-hmm. The idea of a vaccination. I just,
wow.
34 facts about Black history that you would not know. The practice of vaccinations was brought to America by a slave.
You guys, we're going to come back to some of these. Go ahead, Sabrina.
Okay, go ahead, Gloria.
No, we're going to come back to some of these inventions, you guys. Some of these facts that we need to know. They got some, I got some. We all going to get juicy up in here. So stay in for our last piece. We're going to go to a break real quick. But you know, you might know something. So call in at 313-778-7600 because we want to know if you know some issues that we don't know about because we all got issues. We'll be right back to you in just a few minutes. guys. Did you hear that? Oh my goodness. 9:10 a.m. the Superstation. 9:10 a.m. the Superstation. Did you hear them talk about Greenwood? That advertisement about, did you hear that? One United Bank. Yeah, isn't that awesome? I looked it up right away. And you guys, there was a woman who went to Harvard Business School with me, who left Harvard Business School to go work for this bank. And she said it was going to be a very big deal. And everybody wanted this chick. This chick was talk about smart. She was super duper smart. And she went to that black bank. And I bet she's still at it because she had risen very high in that bank. So I have to get in touch with her. Wow, that was super interesting. Super interesting. And you know, for our listeners and our tribes, we want to make sure that you guys go out there and find us. We know that you find us on Facebook. We know that you find us on Instagram, but we want you to go find us, each of us, on LinkedIn, because we're getting ready to crank up our LinkedIn following, and we want you to be all up in there. So let's talk a little bit more about some other Black histories. Let's talk about Henrietta Lacks. Henrietta Lacks' cancer cells led to major discoveries in the medical research. You guys, her family, okay, so she had cancer, and she had a very special kind of situation with her cancer cells. Her cancer cells have been used for cancer research for years. They keep duplicating just her cells the way they are. There's something special about her cells. Have you guys seen that before? Oprah did a big special on it. Her daughter did something called The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks. And none of this was found until 1975, when her family was living in poverty. Huge medical discoveries were made on the back of this woman's cells. I mean, super interesting. Dorothy Dandridge, the first African-American to be nominated, first ever to be nominated for an Academy Award for her film in 1954, Carmen Jones, was a big one. And to talk about medical success, the first successful open heart surgery was performed in 1893. Now, I knew it was a Black surgeon, but I did not know that it was in 1893. Dr. Daniel Hale Williams. Yeah.
Movie, Something the Lord Made. It's a movie. That is one of my favorite movies, Something the Lord Made. If you have not seen that movie, you have got to watch that movie. It is
Something the Lord made. What is it? Tell us about it.
Something the Lord Made. And so I don't know the name, but he was the scientist behind the scenes who did everything for the surgery, but he couldn't get credit because he didn't have the actual degree to do the surgery, but he did everything, and his boss got all the credit. It's an amazing, the movie is just riveting. Something the Lord Made. You should all watch that movie. I could watch it again and again. It's powerful.
Wow. He also founded the first hospital that employed Black healthcare workers ever. You guys, so this is like super
Where was that
incredible.
hospital, Gloria? Where was that hospital?
It doesn't say. It doesn't say where it was. It doesn't say where it was. The first, oh my goodness, so many things. Listen to this. John Rock was the first African-American Supreme Court lawyer. But listen to this, you guys. He did so in February 1865. Before this day, John Rock was a doctor, but he was so ill that he had to give up practicing medicine and turned around and became a lawyer. Can you stand it? My mind was blown because we hear about Dred Scott versus Sanford, where Black people were not even considered American citizens, you guys, but you did not need to be a citizen to practice law in the Supreme Court. Can you imagine that? No. You didn't have to be a citizen to practice law in the Supreme Court. So he said it was sad, but he didn't learn about this in school. We all know now because there's a movie, which we didn't know about until the movie, The Hidden Figures, but Katherine Johnson, Mary Jackson, and Dorothy Vaughan were three Black women that were ahead of many Black women on the race to space. And that would not have come out if there wasn't a big movie about that. And that they were huge in the launching of computers, of working with computers and the launching of computers. And John Glenn was the first successful astronaut to orbit the Earth. And he said he would have never been able to do any of that without the three of them. I mean, just stuff like that. Listen to this. Henry Box Brown escaped to freedom at the age of 33. He shipped himself from Virginia to Philadelphia so that he could be free. Now, that's a story to look up. I had no clue he shipped himself from there. They talked about the Harlem Hellfighters. Have y'all ever heard about them? Never heard about them. The Harlem Hellfighters spent 191 days in the trenches at World War I, more than any other American unit, period. He said, I wish I had learned about the Harlem Hellfighters, the 369th Infantry Regiment that was fought in World War I. They were awarded a big award for their bravery, but one of them, most notable, was John Henry, who fought off soldiers on the front line with a knife and his bare hands. What? What? A knife? A knife in a war? Oh God. Then they said Blackstreet. These are things that they need to be studied in school. Black Wall Street was a thriving community. We've heard about it from Sabrina, but Sabrina, I want to say this. We never hear it enough. You could say it over and over and over again, how your relative was the first entrepreneur. You can hear it over and over and over again. My mother's mother worked for a newspaper in Gary, Indiana. And because she worked for a newspaper, her education and her value in the community and her value during voting was so steeped. It made such a big difference for so many. And again, when you say whatever it took, she had to do whatever it took to keep that newspaper in Gary, Indiana going. She said, there's a movie called Watchmen. Are you familiar with that?
Yeah. Watchmen.
Watchmen. They talk about the massacre and it gives a lot of the details of it. And then they said Martin Luther King was not the first African-American to win the Nobel Peace Prize. It was Ralph Bunche. And I knew about Ralph Bunche. My mother was big about Ralph Bunche. He was a political scientist and a U.S. diplomat from Detroit. Yay, go Detroit. Go 9:10 a.m. to Superstation. He received the Nobel Peace Prize because of the conflict between the Arab and the Israel conflict. So, some of these things. You guys have some more. Did you see some more, Caterina, that you were reading off about inventors or 34 things? Yeah. While you're doing that, I just want to say that one of the big things we started with this conversation about it's not enough Black history. And one of the things that's happening, you had said before, is it political now that we have a turn down in Black history? And the answer to that is yes, because there's so much going on with Black Lives Matter. There's so much going on with, somebody getting shot last week in St. Paul, Minneapolis. There's so much going on with the political scene that people are tiptoeing around the Black history conversation.
Yeah. And I think that we just have to continue to be loud and proud. We can't shrink. We're so grateful for the contributors. I mean, when you ride in the elevator, the fire extinguisher, the stethoscope, the light bulb, ironing board, mailbox, pencil sharpener, traffic lights, blood plasma bag, the air conditioning unit. People, hello, all invented by a Black person. And so, I mean, just so many great contributions. Grateful. We have a lot of work to do. We have smart people out there. Our young people are very smart. They're inventing as we speak. So many great contributors to our society. Caterina, were you going to say something? I see you piping in.
Well, I was going to talk about the first. Rebecca Lee Crumler was the first Black woman to become a doctor of medicine in the United States. Charleston, Massachusetts, 1852. New England, female medical college. I also was going to talk about yesterday, we talked about cancel culture, and Gone with the Wind was a part of that. But Hattie McDaniel was the first African American to win an Oscar, and she wasn't allowed to attend the Gone with the Wind's national premiere, even though she won an Oscar. I mean,
It's big, you guys. It's big. You guys, not only do the United States celebrate Black History, Canada does it, United Kingdom, the Netherlands do it, and Ireland and they all do it in October. And so there's different countries that are now celebrating the Black History Month. So it's so interesting that we see it growing, but we have to keep the conversation alive. And hearing about all the different discoveries that we have done has been major. So we're so excited that you tuned in with us. I'm glad to be back. And We Got Issues. Join us every day, 6 to 7 p.m. We Got Issues brought to you with the Force of Friendship at 9:10 a.m. the Superstation. Follow us everywhere because we want to follow you. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Tomorrow, all things Olympics, the Winter Games tomorrow. Olympics.
Okay.